2. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Comic Book Club. I'm Alex.
I'm Pete.
And Justin, unfortunately, is not here this week. He is out in L.A., living that L.A. life.
Justin.
L.A. Justin. I can't believe that he has traveled across the country in the middle of a pandemic twice. You know who must love that? His wife.
Oh, yeah. His whole family's got to love that.
Yeah. Ooh, Failed Superheroes Club over here in the comics says, kick him off the show. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. But you have big news. You've tried something. You've now entered the world as a full human being.
Yeah.
Please share.
I just can't believe you're blasting ass the opportunity to finally kick Justin off of the show.
Yeah.
You just don't care. You want to talk about the thing that I want to talk about.
More important. There's something more pressing.
All right. My big news, and this is pretty exciting, and I hope everybody's very excited for me. I, tonight, tried Dunkaroos for the very first time.
Come on, man. That's just magical.
You
Welcome
can't see it,
to the
but there's
world.
a couple of people here right off camera who are clapping and cheering for me.
Yeah, Dunkaroos, man. They're fantastic.
All right. I got a package from, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name of it. Hold on, I'll find the name. Documentary coming to PBS All Access that's all about the Nintendo versus Sega rivalry. It's called Console Wars. I gotta figure that out. Here you go.
I peeped the package on your photo there. Kool-Aid. You also got Kool-Aid. I was like,
so much Kool-Aid. I looked up. So yeah, they sent a bunch of 80s stuff because of the Sega versus Nintendo rivalry, including a bunch of candy. They put it under power-ups. There was a little box of power-ups in there, which is cute. Nice. And so, yeah, they had the Dunkaroos. Dunkaroos, a couple of people are asking here. Dunkaroos are, I guess, I just found out what they actually are because I only heard the name, but I never had them because we ate organic as a kid. They're tiny little cookies.
Weird flex was that? Oh,
that is not a flex.
Organic.
I ate Amaranth Crunch until I was sick and felt terrible. Dunkaroos are like dime-sized cookies that you dip in actual frosting. Like, it's not a dip that's like frosting. It's legit just frosting.
Yeah, and the best is you make little sandwiches, dip one and then, dip another. You got like a double stuff going on.
I figured it out right away.
Nice. And then also like they also had ones that were like the shape. They were like kind of like animal cracker style where it was just like different kangaroo shapes and you could just dip that. It wasn't always just the circle disc, so you know.
Interesting. Oh, okay. That's good to know. On the Kool-Aid thing, I want to mention they sent 6 packages of Kool-Aid, I think.
Nice.
Which that was another thing that I never really had, but immediately I was like, because, it's sugar water, whatever.
Wait, but yeah, sure.
Again, we drank naturally squeezed juices every morning.
Oh my God, I hate your childhood. You've had Kool-Aid before, though, right?
Yes, I've had Kool-Aid before.
Okay.
But immediately I was like, what am I going to do with all this Kool-Aid? So I looked up Kool-Aid cocktails, and the only Kool-Aid cocktail recipes are like, here's what you got to do. You make some Kool-Aid, and you put liquor in it.
Yeah, that's right. That's all you need.
That's it.
Vodka and Kool-Aid is chef's kiss.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. Folks, we have an exciting show for you that is not just all about swag bags that I got sent in the mail. We have 2 great guests for you tonight. Later in the show, we are going to have Fred Van Lente, one of our absolute favorite guests. But while we wait to do that, we're going to invite our first guest here, who is one of our future favorite guests. I don't want to sell him short, but Matthew Klein is the Valiant VP of Sales and Marketing. And to be clear about that, he is the VP of Sales and Marketing at Valiant. He also is a very Valiant person. Matthew, welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh my gosh, thanks for coming on, and love the Valiant t-shirt, and love is that a comic book bookcase behind you?
Actually, no, that is a wall treatment that my infinitely better half did. However, my
nice.
comic book bookcase is not too far away.
All right, nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, you have to have it in reaching length. That's super important. I also want to mention, if anybody has any questions throughout the show, I see a couple of you are dropping questions and ask a question right now. But if you have questions for either of our guests as well, you can drop them there in the comments on Crowdcast. Over on the tube, I'm keeping an eye on that. You can drop your questions there too. But Matthew, again, thanks so much for coming on. This is, I don't know if you're aware, been a weird time for the comic book industry.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Everything is business as usual for at least like 6 months. I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, let's talk about the COVID shutdown. Obviously, comics went away, essentially, for the most part, for a while, slowly started to come back, and for the most part, they're kind of like, I'd say 80%, 90%, at least in terms of the amount of comics that are coming out every week. But what was that shutdown like for Valiant? What was done in response to that, and what's happening going forward?
Well, I think, look, it's an unprecedented time for the industry, for the country, for everything going on. So we were looking at it, and we had a heads up pretty early, just seeing the tea leaves, as it were, that we figured that our distributor, Diamond Comics, who for many, many, many years is still is the largest distributor of comics, we knew that there was a very good chance that they were going to have to cease operations for a time until health guidelines could be clarified and what have you. So that means no new comics for months on end. And so along with Valiant, I think every publisher was put in a position where, more importantly than ever, we had to figure it out. Okay, when, how, if do you put pencils down? What do you have to do now? You now have 3 to 4 months where there's no revenue coming in from comics and new books being put out. How does that change your entire budget for 2020 into 2021? How does that change your publishing schedule? How does that change your relationship with talent who are also going to be looking for, all right, we need that paycheck now more than ever too. And it's one of those things so what we did, and it's one of the things that Valiant really prides ourselves on, and Fred will attest to this, is that we got on the phone with the comic shop owners. We make it a point at Valiant to talk to the shop owners because they're the ones ordering the comics. From publishers, it's not customers who order from us, from Valiant. It's the shop owners. So immediately we got on the horn. What are you going through? What do you need? How can we help? What can we do during this time? And what do you need when we're coming back? What do you need as things start reopening back up? So to do that, we've had to reevaluate how many books do you put out per month? What books are they going to be? Do you keep them regular ongoing? Do you start breaking up the arcs? When, where, how? It's a never-ending puzzle. And even now, with new guidelines, new cases, new health concerns, wildfires, hurricanes, earthquakes, the 2020 just keeps on giving. So every single week we have to reevaluate. All right, what's best for the marketplace? What's best for the customer? What's best for the shop owner? And how do we help? And how do we be a part of it in a way that is meaningful, that works for them, not just for us?
Well, and also I have to imagine from the marketing perspective, it's a unique challenge as well, because not that there's one tried and true way necessarily to market comic books, but you have basic things like there's physical comic books. There are conventions that happen that people physically go to, and none of that is really happening anymore. So how'd you tackle that? How are you tackling that?
Well, one of the things that we did is we really focused on engagement on social media. We started a program called the Valiant Hero of the Week, where we literally just pit like a group of heroes in steel cage matches who would win. We put out free comic books. We put out #1 issues every week for months on end and just said, hey, we know you're stuck at home, but we're there with you, right? Because one of the things that you lose about conventions, but also about all the stores that had to reduce hours, reduce staff, that were shut down, is it's all about community, right? I mean, look at us right now. And so the question is, how can you support that community? How can you still promote that community? So we put our creators, we put ourselves onto shows like yours. We did more interactive engagement on social media. We went out there and we're doing digital conventions. We're making more YouTube content to put out there with creators. So it's we have to go to you. We're not expecting you to come to us. That's the philosophy.
I do want to ask you about your take on digital conventions since you bring that up, because we've certainly discussed that a lot here on the show. I think there's been mixed reactions depending on how they worked, and certainly it's a work in progress in general. But with a couple of those big ones, like San Diego had Comic-Con at home, New York Comic-Con, of course, has their metaverse take on it that's coming up, and there's Wizard World things happening all the time, just random Zoom chats happening all the time. How do you feel these are working? What do you think in particular from any of these digital takes has kind of popped more than anything else?
I think to your point, it's a work in progress, and everyone had to put this together very quickly on the fly. And so I think that for the first times out, they've done a phenomenal job. My job can be stressful at times, but to be Reed Pop and, be running so many conventions, suddenly you're told, well, it looks like for about a year, we're not going to have any live events. Like that is a situation I can't even imagine being in. And I think that they've done it really well. I think that one of the coolest things that you're looking at is finding ways to allow the creators to engage with fans. I think that's one of the biggest draws, at a convention, going through Artist Alley, talking to them, flipping through, a portfolio, asking about conventions, getting stuff signed. So finding a way to keep that live personal interaction, I think, is something that we're going to keep seeing develop. I think that DC Fandom did an amazing job. But one of the things too is they have a juggernaut behind them fitting the bill, which doesn't hurt. They have an incredible multimedia company behind them that has the resources, and I think they've used it beautifully. But I think one of the things that we always get hungry for is we get hungry for news. We get hungry for what's new. Yeah. And so I think that moving forward, you're going to see more of that from places like Metaverse. And we'll see what happens with San Diego next year. So I think that's really the key. How can you keep that personal? How can you keep it feeling like you're there without actually being there? It's not easy at all.
So are we going to be seeing the Valiant virtual van at some point in the future?
Did you ever see the actual van when we had the Valiant mobile?
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Oh yeah, that was my job when I first started. I literally drove the Valiant mobile to comic shops every Wednesday.
Wow.
Nice.
Speed traps in Virginia are fun, guys. Let me tell you. When your car is wrapped in artwork of the Eternal Warrior and Archer and Armstrong.
That's fun. That's awesome.
It's crazy. But you know what? What's really cool is like we're going to be part of Metaverse. We filmed and submitted our panel. We're really excited for that. There's an organization called Comics Pro that deals with the retailers. They're putting on some virtual stuff next year. We're going to be part of that. And actually, my guy, Greg Katzman, who's a friend of the show, he and I are dreaming up some more ways to be even active with the digital cons going forward. So yes, you'll be seeing lots of Valiant. You'll be seeing lots of announcements from us too very shortly, which we're really, really excited to be able to reveal.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of things you can't talk about, but
I'm
with things
horrible at keeping secrets, Alex. I'm terrible.
Oh, great. So just tell us everything.
Oh, great. Please, yeah.
Pete, work your magic. Push him.
Okay, so tell us something you shouldn't.
Tell you something I shouldn't. So we have a book coming out next year that I'm very excited about, that our fans have been waiting for and are very excited about. And they don't know how excited they should be. By the way, we're about to have a guest because my cat, Rose,
I heard.
Very much wants to be part of the
What I love about this shot is it looks like the cat is 30 times bigger than you.
Yeah, it's a giant
She is
cat.
30. She thinks she's 30 times bigger than me. She acts like she's 30 times. She might eat me right now. It's very possible. And then I can't tell you anything. So, thanks for the tail.
I'm sorry, but just for anybody listening to the podcast, the cat legitimately looks like somebody is doing a puppet off screen with just a fake hand. He's like coming right in. It's the funniest thing.
if you want her as a co-star moving forward, she's available.
Absolutely.
Oh, nice.
Wonderful. Justin's off in LA. Justin's off in LA. We don't know when he's coming back. Bring the cat on every week.
Yeah, look at that.
Rogue will be happy to be your new co-host. So, but
I'm sorry.
yeah, she is named Rogue after the character. She is.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So what I'm going to say to you is that The announcements are coming. We just made an announcement today. No, not today. Yesterday on Sci-Fi Wire for the next arc of Bloodshot. And what I shouldn't tell you is that you should keep an eye out for the first week of October for our next giant announcement for a book that we have been so excited to reveal for probably about 8 or 9 months now. We've been teasing it on social media. We've teased it in the past at panels, but we're finally going to reveal the series, the creative team, when you're going to be able to get it in 2021. Rogue is so excited right now. She can't stay out of the shop.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing. And the more
Doesn't
I
she
try
know
and keep her off, the
if
more she
Rogue
wants to get
touches
on.
you, she'll steal your power, but she'll also fall asleep. She doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. It's very true. But yes, so look, first week of October, there's going to be a big announcement. You might even go to a certain visionary of Heat as a news outlet when the time comes.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
I see what you're saying. You're talking
get what I'm
about
putting
the
down?
visionary of Heat, of course, on the Heat reporter. No, I get it. I did want to ask, just before we let you go here, though, another thing, not to dwell on the negative, but more look at the positive going forward. This was going to be a very big year for Valiant, kicking off with Bloodshot hitting in theaters. That not only did comics shut down, but theaters shut down just as Bloodshot was coming out as well. Are there thoughts going forward about that? I mean, obviously nobody knows exactly what's happening in terms of shooting or productions or anything, but in terms of that line going back and forth between the big media properties and the comic book properties, what can we expect from Valiant in the next year or so?
We're really excited because we do have Harbinger over at Paramount right now. And I even, like, our parent company put out a statement a few weeks ago talking about how there's a projected 2020 release. So until I hear otherwise, I'm holding on to that for sure. But I also hear about negotiations with other studios for television, animation, video games too. There's a lot going on in the video game world for us. We've announced new games with Blowfish Studios. We have a remaster of the Shadowman game for Night Dive, which for any of you who had that on N64, you are going to be very excited very soon. So, the future is bright. It's not so much about what isn't happening. It's more everything gets delayed as everything has been getting delayed. But we're really, really excited for more announcements and more news when we can put it out for Harbinger. And keep your eyes peeled because you will hear more about certain things I just mentioned sooner than you think. And I can't wait to come back and tell you more about it.
All right.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely have to have you back, Matthew. Thanks you so much for coming on.
Sure.
Yes,
can I say one thing to Fred? Can I say one thing for Fred Van Lente, who I have been his personal Valiant chauffeur many times. Go Phillies.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, this is either a good thing or a bad thing. I can't tell, but we'll find out very soon.
Find out.
Matthew, again, thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure. Good luck with everything Valiant.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right. Matthew Klein, check out all of the stuff coming out from Valiant whenever it's coming out. If you couldn't figure out the clues, Heat Vision over at THR. That's the place you want to head to, presumably for some news in the next couple of days or weeks about Valiant stuff, as well as, of course, this show where we'll be having the cat back. We'll be leaking all sorts of secrets. So that's very exciting.
Great.
But we are going to bring our second guest here into the stream. As mentioned, one of our favorite guys to have on the show, and he is the writer of the Comic Story of Basketball, a fast break history of hoops, and he's going to talk all that. Hopefully he's going to explain what this basketball thing is. And Pete, here he is, Fred Van Lente. Hey! Amazing. Oh, wait, he's gone again. Oh. He's gone. His athleisure was too strong, is what's happening, I think.
Yeah.
Here he is again. Hello.
Hey.
Fred, you there?
Audio?
No?
No.
Oh, hello. This happens sometimes. Basketball. He's good. He's doing a little Harlem Globetrotters thing. Tell you what, Fred, I'm going to kick you off of here and re-invite you, and sometimes that works, all right? So give it 1 second. Goodbye. There we go. Wow, this is...
It's fun.
As usual, yes.
Fred's worth the wait, though.
Fred is worth the wait.
There's no question.
Pete, are you a fan of the basketball?
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
here he is. Hello, Fred?
Yeah. I can hear it. Wait, Fred,
Yeah.
no, talk.
Can you hear us, Fred? We can hear you.
Fred,
Fred? This is going to be great for the podcast.
say something. We
Oh,
can
no.
hear your audio.
Hey, he's just typing. Is he doing a bit? We can hear you.
I can't hear you guys, so
Oh,
can you
no.
hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay, I can't hear you, so this will be fun.
Oh.
Can you hold up signs like we're doing Bob Dylan?
Yeah.
Just
Definitely.
throw the cue cards across?
Absolutely. We could probably just write it in there. This is great. We
Tell
got a
us
cat
about
in the first
basketball.
interview. We got a
Tell us
cat in
Like
the
a
first.
Marcel Marceau interview. I love it.
Yeah.
Uh.
First Stand Up guy says at least Alex is going to edit this out of the podcast version. I don't edit these podcasts. That. What if? No, you can't hear anything. Here, what's? Hold on, Pete. Tell a story about something.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to talk to Fred about basketball because I grew up playing a lot of basketball, watch a lot of basketball, and so I'm excited to see what his passion is behind this new project. And it'll be excited to talk basketball with Fred if we can eventually talk basketball with Fred. So he did a bunch of promos where he was rocking old school basketball outfits on the court. And so, yeah, I'll be interested to see if he played it all or if he's just doing it for the book. Yeah, my NBA team, unfortunately, is the Knicks. I can't. I know it's been rough, but it's tough. I appreciate that, Beer Cat.
Nope.
Nope.
We can hear you.
Okay, here I'm going to try kicking you out one more time, Fred. Hold on.
Oh man, it's tough.
It is tough. Life in these United States right now, it's real tough.
It was funny
There we go.
because he was like, "Oh, sorry guys, can't hear you," and I thought he was doing a bit because
I thought he was doing a bit as well, but it was not, in fact, a bit. Too bad.
So every time I can hear you unless I'm on screen.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Huh? So he goes off screen, hear us, and then come back on screen. All right.
Huh. That's pretty
Tell
weird.
us about
Can't hear
the
us
book.
now? Wait, here, let's try this. Pete, can you... Fred, can you hear us now? Nope. Maybe I will edit this out. Oh, man.
So why don't you just drop me? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
So just we'll drop me a question in the chat.
Okay, well, that's what we're going to do. All right, so first question,
Thank you.
Fred. What
The American
is-
Basketball Association.
Maybe
That's
start
good.
with the Philly thing. The last guy saying,
What is basketball? That's an excellent question. I think Plato said it best when he said basketball is a round rubber ball that you shoot into a hoop. That weirdly, it's a net, not a basket. Although, fun fact, as you can see in the beginning of the comic book story of basketball, they originally were peach baskets nailed up at the other end of a gym.
Wait, hold on. I'm asking another one here.
"Oh, I'm gonna ask you one."
Oh, okay, go for it, Pete.
Well, Pete, since the womb, I really wanted to do a comic book about basketball, and fortunately I had the opportunity when the fine folks at 10 Speed said, "We'll pay you money to do it," and I said, "That's awesome. That's great. Let's do it." And a lot of research and a lot of watching of old basketball footage and going to the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield ensued, and 2 years later we have a 162-page comic.
Next question. The book is great. What was different about tackling a history of basketball versus your other history books?
The fun thing about tackling basketball as opposed to some of my other history books is that, and I'm just going to pretend I understand your questions, and I'm just going to read them right up the chat. It's a little different because before I was doing sort of heady philosophical or historical topics like American history and action presidents or this history of comics. Right now, Ryan and I are doing the Ryan Dunleavy, my frequent partner in crime, are doing the comic book history of animation, which is listening right now in previews and IDWs. So you can check that out. That'll be out in November. It was different because it's a subject that touches so many different lives and types of people across history. There's so many things you can talk about in basketball in terms of race. You can talk about, we do a lot of women's basketball. We talk about all the controversies in college basketball. We talk about Paralympians and disabled folks playing basketball. It's a really exciting topic. It's an international game. It was fun to talk about how it's spread out beyond America and to China and the world. And it's just a topic that until I started researching the book, I didn't realize how vast it was and how much it touches people's lives. I've gotten a really unusual level of excitement about this book. Folks like history and philosophy, and they also like comics. But this almost hits like dead cent in the middle. You know what I mean? It's this very broad topic that lots of people are excited about, and a lot of like, oh, my kid doesn't like to read. I'm going to get him this book and have him check it out and all that stuff. So,
Pete, you want to read your question?
I do watch more basketball now. I fear there's going to be a Celtics-Lakers finals in the NBA, which I'm not a fan of because, believe it or not, in the entire history of the NBA, the Celtics and the Lakers have won 60% of all NBA finals. So this is like, the most sort of boilerplate finals of all time, and that does in fact happen. So I would rather that didn't happen.
And that's Pete's question.
I did watch The Last Dance, the Jordan doc on ESPN. I thought it was terrific. If you guys have HBO Max, another great, if you're, jonesing for more basketball material, once you finish the comic book story of basketball, you can check out the Magic and Bird on HBO Max. Is really terrific. That's a great documentary. That's a really moving story about their sort of parallel paths and their friendship and how that all went to pass. And another good one on HBO Max is City Dump, which came out many decades ago. Actually, it's about this very notorious point shaving scandal, which almost ruined the NCAA in the late 40s, where players were busted for cheating. They were purposely missing shots to get point spreads into a certain range so crooked gamblers could bet on them. So that's a really other fantastic doc. Yes, thumbs up. I understand.
Yes. So Ben the Border Collie says, Fred, do you have a whole chapter on Pete's Knicks misery? It's from Ben the Border Collie.
This is Pete's question? Because there's multiple questions in the chat.
Oh, okay. Great. I should have thought of that.
Yeah.
Fred, do you have a whole chapter on Pete's Knicks misery? Knicks fans are not going to be a huge fan of this book. They don't get a lot of airtime, unfortunately. They're those great, the Frazier years and the Patrick Ewing years. The Knicks were sort of famously... another interesting thing about the point shaving scandal was the Knicks kind of almost rescued Madison Square Garden, because Madison Square Garden was actually going to kick basketball out entirely. They were known as sort of the mecca of basketball because they host both the NIT and the NCAA championships. But they, because of the scandal, the scandal sort of focused on the Beavers, who were the City College of New York players, who were the big college team, believe it or not, in the 40s. But then the Knicks, who were part of the BAA, which was the precursor to the NBA, they were owned by Madison Square Garden, but because their attendance was so pathetic, they wouldn't actually play at the Garden. They had to go up to the Armory, I think on 69th Street, because there was the attendance for the year was like 20,000. It's not good. It's not good at all. The early BAA teams are hilarious. My favorite story was that the Philadelphia Warriors, or the precursors to today's Golden State Warriors, their team owner was so cheap, they wouldn't pay for a bus, so they just drive the players out to the Garden, dump them off on the sidewalk, and then circle the Garden while the game is being played, and then they picked them up and drove them away again. So it was pretty crazy.
Cool. So Pete says, I agree. Pete, you could probably read your own question if you want. You said...
Yeah, sure. I'm just seeing where it is. Oh, I agree. Basketball touches lives. Sports is...
Sorry, is this the question about the father?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I sort of, like, I was never a big sports fan growing up. I mean, I know, like, Jock, you look at me, you're like, that guy knows sports. But I've always really enjoyed going to my buddies when I was in high school. I grew up outside Cleveland, and it was always fun. The Cavaliers were always terrible in the 80s, but it was always fun to go see the games live, and it was just really spectacular. It wasn't really... My wife, of all people, got me into sports, specifically Mets baseball. Yes, we're right here with the Knicks fans in terms of our overall patheticness. That was Matt busting my balls earlier when he said "Go Phils," obviously, because when he would drive me around for Valiant events, we would sometimes put baseball games on, and it was often my Mets beating up on his Phils. But the tables have turned, as they do so often in sports, and the Phils look pretty good this year. But yeah, so like, I'm kind of lazy, and so Barclays Center opened down the street from my house. So now I can go see live basketball by walking 20 minutes that way and go watch the Nets, because that's where the Brooklyn Nets played. So I'm now one of the 16 living Brooklyn Nets fans. We're a small group. I wouldn't say we're proud, but we're not ashamed.
Nice.
I would say that's the distinction.
Here, I'll read this one. The visual, so in the book, the visual of one singular brain subbing in for a group think is pretty gruesome but hilarious. Where did this come from?
That's the brain question. So, what's the polite way to put this? So, like, I read a lot of basketball books, and one thing you first notice about a lot of basketball writers is they're generally white writers writing about a black-dominated sport, so they kind of overcompensate by being like totally in your face, man. And I just like basketball writing. I just want to shut the fuck up, man. Like it's too much, man. It's too much. And but I feel like they're also all copying Bill Simmons, who was a guy who's obviously owns the Ringer podcast company. I think owns all podcasts. Isn't he listening to this right now? Is that why?
Yeah.
Is that why he killed my audio? Because I'm going to start talking shit, and so he wanted to like shut that guy up. But Simmons wrote this book, this very long book called The Big Book of Basketball. It's a huge bestseller. And in the beginning of it, Isaiah Thomas, of all people, tells Bill Simmons, the whole thing sort of starts with this rambling thing about he's going to give you the secret of basketball. And Isaiah Thomas says the secret of basketball is unselfish play, essentially. And, you know, basketball is unusual in team sports because it's something that a lot of big men, a lot of individual players have dominated and can dominate and have dominated. Jordan being obvious. We had LeBron. We had Kobe. Back in the 50s, we had George McCann, the so-called Mr. Basketball, who was big in the Minneapolis Lakers. Later, he was the commissioner of the American Basketball Association, where the Nets started out. But yeah, all the great teams really since the beginning, since you can talk about the Buffalo Germans, who were the first big barnstorming team, the first big pro team, up to the New York Renaissance and the original Harlem Globetrotters, who were from Chicago and didn't trot the globe, so go figure that one out, all the way up through the Jordan's championship teams. They all worked as a single unit, and it was fun. And I think Joe Cooper, our wonderful artist, executed this really well, where we had all the heads going up to one brain. Kind of creepy, but as a visual metaphor, it's effective.
This next one is from Ramsey Hassan on YouTube. I dug the play that Fred and his wife wrote about Jack Kirby. What other comic legends, fascinating comic histories will they collab on a new play about?
This is the question from YouTube, from Ramsey. So we two things about that. It's a great question about King Kirby. So I guess the first thing I'll say is that King Kirby, I'm sort of making news here on Comic Book Club Live. They may have taken away Alex and Pete's beautiful voices, but they will not stop me from breaking news on Comic Book Club Live. And that is that King Kirby's going to be an audio drama, for those of you who haven't had a chance to hear it, that's going to be released on Spotify and Netflix and all those fun places at the end of the month. So it'll be a four-episode podcast audio drama miniseries with the original New York City cast. So that's super exciting. And we are collaborating on a couple of things right now. The play we are working on right now it's a comedy called Tragedy, and it's set during the tragedy competitions in ancient Greece and the hilarity of Oedipus Rex being put on and all the backstage shenanigans that went on in the original production of Oedipus Rex. Fun, because number one, togas are funny. And so are weird sexcapades, right? Am I right? Yes? No? Maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just as a follow-up here, so given everything, are you aiming to be able to perform not on stage?
Yeah, the promos have definitely been fun to do for the basketball book. My wife shot me making an idiot myself on my local basketball court. We went early enough in the morning so children would not laugh at me. Only people on the internet, as was intended. But yeah, it's been fun. I actually got a lot of podcast requests because I got this get up. I'm a Syracuse University alumnus, and they obviously have a big basketball program. So I decked myself out also in orange Syracuse basketball gear, and I had people vote on which one. So
nice. Yeah. I'm voting Q's.
Hold on. Okay, here we go. So Agitato from YouTube. How many chapters are about the Flint Tropics? Jackie Moon fought a bear.
The Flint Tropics. Isn't that a reference to the Will Ferrell movie? Semi-Pro, right?
Yeah.
Which I've not seen in a long time. You know what's a good movie? Since you asked me about basketball movies, Uncle Drew, underrated movie. I thought it was funny.
Yes.
That guy from Get Out is really good in it.
Yeah.
Uncle Drew.
Yeah.
Number
Uncle
one
Drew
basketball movie. Number two basketball movie. Absolutely, he got game. It's also one of my top 3 all-time Spike Lee movies. It's terrific. Third is White Men Can't Jump.
Black Zorro.
Space Jam doesn't count. I just sort of pretend. I think of Space Jam like Bigfoot. I vaguely am aware of its existence, but I neither confirm nor deny it.
Question here. One interesting thing I thought in the book was how women's basketball started very soon after men's basketball. Why did it take so long to catch on? Though I think I know why.
Wow, I've actually gotten kind of good at reading Alex's lips. Now, granted, I also have the chat to help me out here. So, the game of basketball was invented in a YMCA school in Springfield, Massachusetts, where they were training phys ed instructors. And next door to it, so after the first basketball game, like literally the same week, some elementary school teachers next door came in and saw them playing and are like, what's that? And so literally they taught them. So then women's basketball actually literally started like 4 days after men's basketball. And so some speculation is that women's basketball, it's good that they wandered into, because otherwise volleyball might have been the primary women's indoor sport, because volleyball is also invented in the same, Springfield, Massachusetts YMCA school. But I guess Alex meant the question was more why did the pro game take so long to get started, like the WNBA, and there was another competing league called the Women's Basketball League, I think it was. The book's right here, I could look it up. But, you write books, Pete, so you don't have to remember things. That's the whole point of writing things down. You don't memorize your grocery list. You write it down, so you can just look at it. I think the primary reason that women's pro sports, or women's pro basketball, but women's pro sports in general took such a longer time to get off the ground was, frankly, because until 1969, only 1% of athletic budgets went towards women's sports. It wasn't until Title IX was passed, the part of that whole civil rights package, that schools were forced to provide equal funding for women's programs. And so it wasn't until you had that late 80s, early 90s generation of women players like Rebecca Lobo and the others who went on to win the gold in the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta, You didn't actually have athletes who were trained to the point where they could go pro in an organized sort of mass league the way the WNBA does. Now, granted, there were always women playing basketball professionally. We talk about a lot of them in the book. My favorite were the barnstormers. And barnstorming, I keep using this term, barnstorming was stolen from theater, where hopefully one day we will once again be doing the show. And I can hear you guys. You tour around and you'd go and you play people in a small town, and you would play in a barn, right? Because that was the only structure big enough to house everybody. Although it had to be a pretty big barn to hold a basketball game. But it's just a term of art, you know what I'm saying? It's not as literal. But one of my favorite all-women's pro teams was the Arkansas Redheads.
Oh.
Who were the all-redheaded female barnstorming team. And, of course, a lot of them were wearing wigs.
Okay.
Their best shooter was part Cherokee. Didn't want to dye her black hair, so she wore a red wig. A lot of other people dyed their hair. So when you sweat a lot, I can't imagine that that could have gotten grim in certain places. But
This
lack of civil rights education legislation. That's why it took so long for women's sports, pro sports, to get off the ground.
Here's a question from first-hand up guy Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, wrote a comic. Who are your favorite basketball players who make comics?
So is Alex reading the question? He's going to dump it in the thing. I now lost his video too, so I can't see.
Sorry. So, first-hand up guy Kareem Abdul-Jabbar question. First-hand up guy Kareem Abdul-Jabbar question.
Pete's doing a really great miming thing. I don't know what's going on.
Kareem.
Okay, I'm not the only one that lost Alex.
Yeah, I lost Alex too.
Lost myself.
Read the Kareem question.
Yep.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wrote a favorite comic. Who are your favorite basketball players who makes comics? Well, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wrote a comic. He also wrote a great book about his experiences with Coach Wooden that is referenced a lot in this book. I mean, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is kind of a Renaissance man, and I really enjoyed all of his writings about basketball. It was really great to read more of them because of this book. Who are favorite basketball players who make comics? Well, my favorite basketball comic of all time is the 1979 Jack Davis drawn Dr. J, Rick Barry Spalding ad, which I wrote a whole column about analyzing it on panel by panel over on 13thdimension.com. If you want a blast from the past, that's been my favorite basketball comic up until this point. The X-Men famously were not big basketball players. I believe volleyball and baseball were their sports. So,
yeah.
I mean, one day, perhaps. Oh, I scrolled up on the chat. More stuff's going on.
For those of you listening at home, Fred is looking through the questions. He can't hear me saying this, but that's what's going on.
My favorite ABA team is the Nets, Eduardo. I hope I'm not talking over Alex because I can't see him. He's just an icon. Okay, I'm good. I'm just going to start rambling until Pete gets in the single to shut up. But yes, the New York Nets. They were the New York Nets at the time that they entered the NBA when the NBA absorbed them. Their big player at the time was Dr. J, and in fact, of the master dunker. In fact, I will show you this. Let's do a little story time.
Nice story.
Sorry, people who are just listening to the podcast. It's not personal. That's Dr. J. That's our only double-page spread. It's silent. It's of Dr. J at the 1976 ABO All-Star Game in Denver, which was where the first slam dunk contest was.
Yeah.
So Dr. J was the reason they brought him into the whole reason the ABA was absorbed by the NBA was to get Dr. J into the league. Yep. And the other ABA teams are, can you name them? Trivia. We know the Nets, right? There's three more. What are they? They are the Pacers.
Oh.
The Nuggets, and now I'm blanking.
Spurs.
Spurs is the fourth one.
Nice. Wow.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, Bullets were original
Cat PhD.
Good
job, guys. Thanks for the assist.
Someone. Yeah, well, the funny thing, I know that Marvel also hired me to work on the Golden Warriors mascot, or the Golden State Warriors mascot, believe it or not. That was like 4 years ago. Nothing ever came to that. I don't know what the heck that happened. Squire's not going to be a team. Alex is Alex again. I don't want to talk over Alex. Alex, there's not a ton of focus on the modern era in the book. Was that because it's so familiar to the audience? So the mandate from the publisher was to include not just the NBA, because obviously it's not the comic book store of the NBA, but college ball and the women's ball and we do street ball, we do Native American in basketball and all that good stuff. So really, 162 pages sounds like a lot until you add in the international game and everything else. So, and I also I read a lot of history. In my personal opinion, anything that 10 years to me is the buffer zone between current events and history. If it happened between now and 10 years before, not history, it's current events. Because then you last thing you want to do is write a book and then immediately have it be obsolete. Very sad among many of the other terrible things that happened in 2020. In January, we lost Kobe Bryant, one of the all-time greats, and I was bummed that I had to tweak a caption. All I could really do was tweak a caption in the book acknowledging and mourning his passing. And that's definitely an example of something where current events caught up to, Kobe's career, ended more than 10 years ago. So it fell, even in my buffer zone of 10 years, I still got caught there with, not being able to address something where current events overtook the history that was in the book,
Cool.
I'm gonna just keep talking.
Well,
we're killing today.
Yeah.
What else do you want to plug before you let me go? Well, I mentioned this. Let me grab this. This is for a bit younger. This is Action Presidents. This is in full color. We have George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and Teddy Roosevelt, and JFK, and that's available literally everywhere, including Walmart of all places. So go and check that out. I'm doing the Dynamite Zombie crossover, Die! Namite. The first issue that drops just in time for Halloween next month. And there's a lot of cool stuff in the works that, like your previous guest, Matt. I can't talk about it, but that's what we got.
Cool.
All right. Fred, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, sorry about this. Maybe we'll do a test next time. But just so you know, most of the time I could not hear you guys. I had to do the weird toggle thing, and then it said I couldn't do the toggle thing while I was on screen. So I don't know if that helps.
Okay, that does help.
But
thank you,
and for putting up with my foolishness.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Fred Van Lente, everybody. As mentioned, this was all about the comic book story of basketball, a fast break history of hoops. Oh, you can't see it anyway because you can't. I was holding up the comic.
Yeah, that's not going to help.
You still can't see me.
Nope.
Right?
Can't see you at all.
Ben the Border Collie says it was a slam dunk of an interview. I couldn't agree more. Oh my goodness. Someday all this tech stuff will be figured out. The thing is, I can see myself on here, and I can see you, I can see Fred, and I can hear everybody, but everybody has different stuff. Anyway, I'll tell you what, I think we're going to move into our next section, which is
there we go.
The least technically crazy part of the show, audience questions! And for your audience questions, all you need to do is drop a question either in the comments over on the Tube or ask a question over on Crowdcast. Already a ton of them there, so I'm going to go to Crowdcast first for the moment. Maybe my video will pop at some point because I look amazing tonight. Mike Beneke, parent of Griffin Freshman, says, so did Pete move just to be in a swing state? If so, that's really gutsy, almost Punisher level gutsy. Is that true, Pete? Is that why you moved Philly?
Yeah. I'm just trying to make a difference, really trying to go where my voice can be heard a little bit better. Yeah. No, I moved for love.
First Stand Up Guy says, Pete's voting for Trump, just to be clear.
Nope.
That's
First Stand Up Guy.
Definitely not true. I will mention, you probably all know this, but it is National Voter Registration Day. We don't tend to get very political here on the show, but for real, make
The
sure
love of
that
cheesesteaks.
your voter registration is up to date. Double check it, because sometimes people just fall off the rolls. Register, make a plan to vote. Vote. All of you have to vote this year. There are no options. If you're listening and you're too young to vote, encourage your parents and old people in your life to vote, because we need to get out the vote and get it there big time. There you go. Nothing is more important right now for the future of the world. But on to talking about comic books. Big says over on the Tube, are you guys ever going to do a podcast for season 2 of Umbrella Academy? I feel embarrassed about that.
We're slowly
yes.
trying to make that happen.
Yeah. I mean, in all honesty, this is like the most boring answer possible, but we've been doing the boys podcast. That's the one that was like happening right now, so we're really concentrating on getting boys episodes out on time every Friday when the new episodes hit. Umbrella Academy, we just haven't had the time to stay up with it, but I think we're going to try to tape the next episode the next day or two and put that up, get caught back up. It's definitely top of mind, but with Justin flitting back and forth with work, life stuff happening with all of us, been tough to keep up, but it is still on the docket to get forward. I think we have one more episode of season 1 to do.
Yeah,
I think that's part of the reason we held off, is we all wanted to do the season finale together, but we'll get there.
Yeah,
there you go. All right. Another question here from Crowdcast from First Hand Up Guy. Recently discovered that Dr. Doom was known as Fatalis in France in the 80s or 90s. What are some other villains' European names? If you don't know, which is reasonable, can you please make them up? I do love Fatalis. That's a good name.
you would like that name.
Yeah. I'd also, Apocalypse in France is called L'Apocalypse.
Oh my god.
Any other ones, Pete? You got one?
No, I'm not gonna. I have no idea. Unfortunately, I'm not that well traveled to know that, but it would be fun.
Well,
to
you
kinda
can make
check
up
out.
one. Part of the answer, you can make up one if you want.
Oh well, then it's definitely Lahuba is the one of my favorites.
Nice.
Aren't you glad I made that up?
Yeah. And interestingly, I mean, this isn't a comic book character, but the last one, and I guess we can move on. In France, King Kirby is called a Royale with Kirby.
I knew you were gonna. I knew it.
You knew I was going to go there. All right, a couple from over on the Tube.
Wait, Zelbs, what are you drinking?
Well, what am I drinking? I am having a Lagunitas Super Cluster. It's a Citra Hop Mega IPA of intergalactic proportions.
Wow.
What about you, Pete?
I'm finishing off a little bottle of white wine that we had from dinner last night.
First It Up guy, very nice. First It Up guy says, I was typing a Black Panther Royale joke as you said that. I'll be totally honest, that was my first thought, but it didn't feel appropriate to make a joke about. So there you go. All right, over to the Tube. Anthony Latch, WandaVision, how amazing! What do you think? Did you watch that WandaVision trailer, Pete?
I did. It continues to be tripped out and weird. I'm nervously excited for it. I think it's great that they have the actors from the movie, so it'll be interested to see how Tom King it is.
Mm. Well, also, Catherine Hahn is in it. I feel like there was so much conversation about her in the athletic wear, hanging it out on their countertop. There's, if you watched it on TV during the Emmys, and I'm pretty sure you didn't because nobody watched the Emmys, there was a shorter version that was broadcast on TV than the one that was online. Mm-hmm. So, like, I watched it on TV. It was like, oh my God, this is great. This is amazing. I love this change of genres. Everything about this looks weird and good and interesting. And then watch the online version, and it was that much longer, and it has that great scene where Catherine Hahn is in the car and Vision wakes her up. You saw that. And she's like, am I dead? And he's like, no, why would you think that? And she's like, because you're dead. And then starts laughing. So creepy, so weird, so good. Great. I can't wait.
I'm nervous. I'm very, because the comic has a kind of a depressing tone. and I'm wondering if the show is going to have that as well.
Yeah, and I'll mention OG over on YouTube says Kitty Foreman confirmed in the MCU. I love that they are fleshing this out with classic sitcom people. That's so cool. So much fun. And there's also, I'm sure you all caught this, but there's a little blip of Monica Rambeau in there, now all grown up from Captain Marvel, that you could see. She gets thrown out of something that's lying on the ground. And that's a great tease as well. So very, very exciting. Another one here, Nelson Martinez says, have you guys heard the rumor that Tom Holland may play Link in a Zelda show on Netflix? Definitely just a rumor, but I'd be super down for that, you guys.
He'd be a perfect Link. That's hilarious.
Is that because you don't like to hear him talk?
I don't know about that, but I just think that when you think Link
that's
and
that's a joke about Link. That's a joke about Link not having dialogue, Pete.
Yeah, I'm aware of what the joke was. I was trying to move past it and just say that he looks the part in a kind of funny way.
Yeah, I guess so. I feel like anytime there's a fan casting for anything now, Tom Holland comes up, you know? So I love him. He's great.
Why are you mad at him for being in the conversation?
Let him do other stuff.
He did some weird Netflix movie about being a bad guy. I didn't see it.
Devil All the Time. It's based on that Eddie Murphy song. My girl likes to devil all the time. Devil all the time.
That's not how the song goes.
No, that's how the song goes.
No.
I lived through that period.
Oh my
Question, God. I wonder what everyone's favorite and least favorite Halloween candy is. Pete, what's your favorite and least favorite Halloween candy? Also, everybody be safe this year and maybe don't go out on Halloween. Go ahead, Pete.
Peeps is my least favorite. I do like candy
Peeps
corn
on Halloween.
Yeah, what?
I do like candy corn as well. Candy corn is vastly underrated.
Yeah,
but Peeps is an Easter candy. What are you talking about?
Well, Peeps is, they use Peeps in a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, I hate it when people are always handing me pieces of turkey when I go out on Halloween. That's the worst. Or like Valentine's Day hearts.
So it's like, hey, you want a turkey leg? Oh, yeah.
Slice. Oh, I was thinking like sliced flesh turkey directed to your mouth.
Oh, nice. Yeah, have a little carving station right there.
Yeah. My favorite thing, I don't know if this is a widespread thing, though I assume it is, but I just haven't seen it around. The plan for this Halloween, my wife told me, is to stand on a stoop and throw candy at the kids.
Yeah, because you have like a window, you can just open up your window and throw candy down to them. Be like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, they're calling it, the phrase she used was yeet the treat. I thought it was pretty funny.
Your wife is hilarious, man.
She is very funny. I like
God.
Oh, wait, I didn't answer. Favorite Halloween candy? I feel like either any sort of Reese's peanut butter cup, always go for that first, or Sour Patch Kids. That's like the second one.
No.
Do you know what the worst, and I know nobody's going to agree with me on this, the worst one for me on a Halloween is Twizzlers. I love Twizzlers.
Well, then what are you saying?
The individually packed or the shorter Twizzlers, they taste wrong. Like they don't taste exactly right. And I always get so excited because I'm like, yes, Twizzlers, my favorite candy. And then I open them up and they're just not the same thing at all. It's very weird.
Yeah, I guess like those little packs of Twizzlers where it's like a little small, like 2-pack or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Sour Patch is not a second in Halloween candy. It's like Sour Patch is great. Sour Patch is fantastic. But like when you kind of dump your bucket out or your pillowcase after you're back from your trick-or-treating days, for me, it kind of goes.
And we should just clarify, Pete is talking about last year. Go ahead.
Yeah, last year. It goes like, all right, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups 1, and then it's like Butterfinger Twix, kind of like for me is the second.
Do you know what actually is maybe the worst one, though it's very much not to say something about something that actually is a mixed bag, but back in Parks when we were trick-or-treating, all the stores would give out candy, but some of the stores would like give out the candy they had around anyway, not actual Halloween candy. So it'd be like little tiny little fruit candies or after dinner mints or things like
Oh.
That's a bummer. That just
Yeah.
fills up your bag. That doesn't do anything good.
Yeah, that's no bueno.
Great question. Let's
A lot of
jump
Three
over
Musketeer
to-
love. Just want to be like, yeah, Three Musketeers.
Yeah, Three Musketeers, the best. But not my number one on Halloween. That's all. I love them, but not my number one on Halloween. Ramsey Hassan says, anybody watching Raised by Wolves is the best show on TV. Pete will dig it. I am crazy for that show. I love that show. Pete, have you checked it out yet?
I haven't. It's like HBO Max or some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have that, so I don't know. I can't.
Do you have HBO?
No.
Then you don't have HBO Max.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is great. It is like I particularly watch the first 2 episodes and tell me that you're not completely hooked on it because it's sci-fi madness. Every episode adds new details, and I will tell you all on this podcast, on this live stream here, I watched the end of the season, and while it definitely doesn't tie everything up, it continues to go batch insane through the last episode, where things happen that are just crazy every episode. Like, it certainly feels very much like Lost in this first season, both in terms of you don't know what's going to happen episode to episode, but also there's that feeling of like, this is going to go wildly wrong at some point, but it hasn't quite got there yet. It's great.
Well,
You
welcome
should
back,
check it out,
Zelda.
Pete.
It's nice to be able to see you again. It was weird.
Oh, hello.
Yeah. Yeah. Stray Bullet points out a good. I won't be able to watch Harley Quinn season 3 without Max, so I'll have to get on it and join.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I'm gone again. Let's not talk about that for the audio podcast. Not bother them. Anthony Latch and to ask, what character do you want to see for a Disney Plus Marvel show for? I want to see Great Lakes Avengers. I mean, I'll mention this is one that's already happening, but I lost my damn mind about Tatiana Maslany being cast as She-Hulk. That's great. I can't wait. I'm so excited. That's my favorite casting I've heard in a long time.
Yeah, that's very exciting. That should be a really done well, which I think it will be a great show, and I'm really looking forward to checking that out. I'm all in on that.
Yeah. Joe says, do you think it will be a fun Shulk show? Yeah, I think so. Tatiana Maslany, I feel like a lot of people don't know this. She actually has an improv comedy background. That's how she started. And then she got hired for Orphan Black after that. I think she probably did a couple of roles in between. But I'll mention I've only interviewed her once when I was back at MTV, and this was before Orphan Black launched. I'd watched the first couple of episodes, loved it, and if you've never watched Orphan Black, go watch it, and it's awesome. But she came in, and the idea of the show, again, if you haven't seen it, is she plays a bunch of different clones. So in the interview, she came in, there were no rush because nobody had seen the show and nobody really cared about the show. So she came in and did the interview. We did all the interview things we did. And then I threw out at her, like, hey, I had this idea where we could get you to interview yourself and ask yourself some interview questions. Would you be up for that? And we'll edit it together with a split screen. She's like, yeah, no problem. And because we were doing it very on the spur of the moment, we just filmed her twice without any like syncing up or anything like that. And she did it perfectly, absolutely perfectly and hilariously, where she did her lines interviewing herself, but timed them out perfectly. And I think about that all the time when I watch her stuff, like just how funny she was, how professional she was, how quick she was to jump in and get the idea. And she made it better with a couple of suggestions. Just great. She's great. I'm very excited.
Nice.
So yeah, I think it'll be good. Let's get another question here from Crowdcast. Nick Kelly says, will we ever meet the women of Comic Club?
The what? You broke up.
Oh, will we ever get the women of Comic Book Club?
Ooh. That would be fun.
Great. No elaboration, Pete?
Well, I feel like it would be interesting to watch you hand something over to somebody else. I don't know if you could do it.
This is about me.
Yeah. I would. It would be really fun to see you hand control of the show over to your wife, and to watch you while she does it. I think that would be my favorite part.
Yeah, I could do that. I could step away at any time. I'm not even here right now to the people watching on video.
That's true. But yeah, I think it would be a lot of fun, especially because it's fun to see, you and your wife interact and Justin and his wife interact. So it'll be fun to get like different kind of sides of who we normally get to talk to. So I think that would be a lot of fun.
All right, let's see what happens. Maybe it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Question from Stray Bullet. The question is probably more for Alex because he's one of the few people who finds redeemable qualities in the Flash. What's the deal with the Speed Force? Me and Nat were trying to figure it out earlier in the Slack. You can't burn it out, hide in it, merge with it, transfer it, get lost in it, trap someone in it, have it dunk your dunkaroos. What's the deal with the Speed Force? Great
Zelda,
question.
defend the Speed Force.
I really can't. I think the Speed Force was a great idea originally that has become this catch-all for solving every single problem. Yeah. And as much as I love the Flash, I do not love that their major relationship is with the Speed Force. That they refer to the Speed Force as a person with feelings and whatever, which we'll get into on the show. It's just like, I think it was Mark Waid that introduced the Speed Force, right? And this idea of there was this thing that connected all the different speedsters. Smart idea. Very cool. But then, I mean, I don't know how many people have read necessarily Speed Metal, which is a very fun book that I enjoy, and we'll be talking about it on a stack. But there's stuff that happens where they're like, yeah, it basically does anything. We can do anything with it. And so it becomes this easy thing like magic in comic books and stories in general, where if you don't have rules behind it, you can do anything. And because of the continual nature of comic books, they need to keep raising the stakes in terms of what the Speed Force can do. And that ultimately diffuses, in my mind, the power of the idea. So I know you asked me to defend it. I can't defend it. I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. You got me. Let's jump over to YouTube. Nelson Martinez says, which was your guys' favorite Emmy win? I have to give it up to Regina King for Watchmen. You guys? Pete?
Ooh, yeah. That was huge. Regina King is a legend. Everything she does is phenomenal. Love her work. So happy she was cast on the show. I was also... the guy who played Dr. Manhattan got an Emmy, didn't he? Or was he just nominated?
Yeah, Abdul-Mateen II. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did. In fact, 2 Dr. Manhattans won. Him and Billy Crudup won for the morning show.
Oh, wow.
So 2 Dr. Manhattans.
Dr. Manhattan.
Not my joke. I can't take
up.
credit for that. But yeah, but it was... His awards existed in multiple time periods over the course of the night.
That's great. And John Oliver won, which I'm excited about. That show's phenomenal.
Yeah, I think I was very excited for the Regina King one. I clapped for that, and also excited for Watchmen and Yahya Abdul-Mateen. That was great. The one that got me, though, was Zendaya for I was so excited for that. I couldn't believe she won. I love Euphoria. And she is amazing on it. So that was a big, big surprise. I know that's not a comic book thing, but
it's kind of
the one that I was the happiest about.
Yeah,
that's kind of a comic book thing, sure.
Mary Jane.
Speaking of comic books, though, from Ed the Border Collie, what comic book character would make for the best drinking buddy?
Ooh. It depends on what you mean by best drinking buddy. Like, are you there for the stories? Are you there for, like, getting into some scrums at the bar? Like, what kind of night are you looking to have?
Good question.
I feel like, Logan, although probably you can't hang with him drinking wise, it would just be unbelievable to drink with him at a bar.
Yeah, I mean, all these people being mentioned in the comments, Ben Grimm, Thor, Wolverine,
Hercules.
Hercules, you would die. I mean, they would be fun. Up until you died.
Until you died, yeah.
I do think this is a mild bit of spoiler that I won't get into, but Jennifer Walters might be fun. Like She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Like it's like not Hulk. You're not drinking with Hulk or anything like that, but she seems like she likes to have a good time, and she'd be fun to chat with, and you could ask lots of questions about being a Hulk. That'd be a good one. Charles Xavier.
That would not.
Here's the goal. Like the goal of getting Charles Xavier drunk with Charles Xavier is to get him drunk enough to take off the helmet and then chug out of the helmet.
I would try to get him drunk enough so I could take his wheelchair.
Oh God, Pete, dark. Jesus Christ, no. Oh no. Oh dear, no. All right. Here we go. This is from Kevin. Followed on from the author of 10 Dead Comedians being on the show, what are some of your favorite non-comic works by comic creators? Oh, constantly feel like Kevin's trying to stump us.
Yeah. So, comic creators, non-comic work. Well, we talked a lot about Fred Van Lente's actual book. That was really great, where it was about like a kind of whodunit at a Comic-Con. That was I really
that was very
that
fun.
book.
That
Charles
was a good
Soule's like last two books were really unbelievable.
They were. Also talking about other folks that we've had on the show a bunch. Greg Pox, Kickstarter manual. If you're ever thinking about starting a Kickstarter, he has a essential manual for how to run it. That's great. You should definitely check that. First Head Up Guy mentions A Once Crowded Sky by Tom King. That is a great suggestion. Here's my story about that I'll mention is I was covering Baltimore Comic-Con back before Tom King had any comic book work, and he had just released A Once Crowded Sky. And I think I've told this on the show before, but I didn't have a lot to do at the con because there wasn't a ton going on there. So mostly I was just walking around the con floor in a circle. And the first day I walked by and I saw Tom King there, and I went up and I was like, oh, hey, I love the book, because I had already read it for my job. And so we chatted about it a little bit. He was super friendly. We had a nice time chatting, I think. And then he was like, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. I got all these books here. And then the next day I came back and I was like, hey, Tom, how's it going? How was your day yesterday? He's like, well, I sold out of all the books.
Wow.
And by, I think, the next week or two, he had signed up to do probably Omega Men with DC Comics.
Yeah.
And it was just like up from there. So it was just funny checking him in over that weekend and being like, I need to go to the bookstores locally in Baltimore and pick up all the copies to sell them. Because it was just clear from that point on that he was a star.
I mean, Omega Man, I remember when that came out. That was such a great book. So fun to talk about every
so
day.
Good. But yeah, good call there. And a lot of calls out for Joe Hill's books. I don't know if that counts because he started in novels and then he went to comics. But his books are great. I just finished, we were talking about this in the Patreon Slack a little bit. I just finally finished Strange Weather, his novella collection, which is real good. And I'll mention for the people here on the podcast, without any spoilers, I was very surprised by this. The first novella is a lock and key story. Like, it's not clear that it's a lock and key story initially, but by the end, it is very clear. There's an illustration from Gabriel Rodriguez. So that was a fun surprise. I'll warn you, though, as you might expect, the stories are very dark, and in particular, the second one is real hard to read. Beercat PhD says, I will never get over the firemen. That is a novel. That is a big book. I'm reading Full Throttle, which is his latest collection right now. Good stuff. Joe Hill, doing real well. There you go.
That's good. We're right.
From CT Kook. If you could have a 3-on-3 basketball game, who would you pick for your teams? Pete, Marvel, Alex, DC.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, man.
All right.
That's very specific.
3-on-3.
3-on-3 basketball.
3-on-3 basketball. I'm trying to think of who's the tallest. Yeah.
I mean, I can go first if you need a second.
Yeah,
I already got
go
it.
Yeah.
Superman, because we're going to win. We're going to do that. Batman for strategy.
What?
And then Elongated Man, because he could just stretch right over to the basket and get it in.
That's great. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But wait,
Mr.
I don't know if
Fantastic-
3-on-3. Yeah, I think I did it like 3-on-3 in this scenario. I'm the coach.
Yeah.
So it'd have to be
Mr.
two other players.
Fantastic to
Yeah.
cover your guy.
Yeah.
I would go with let's go with the Supreme to be the Superman matchup, and then who do I want to put on Batman? Who do I want to stick on Batman? Yeah, I'll go
Wow, so
Nightcrawler just because he can.
Man,
bam.
you're just doing defensively is what's going on.
Yeah.
Also, I'm an idiot. I'm going to choose Sportsmaster. I'll sub out Batman, put in Sportsmaster.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, because I don't think we can lose. First up, guy says no speedsters. Yeah, that feels like cheating. I don't know. From Joe, who's everyone's favorite fictional basketball? What is going? Oh, right, we had Fred on the show talking about
what do you-
basketball.
how do you
Who's
not
everyone's
have a
favorite
memory?
fictional basketball player? Why is it a big lob from the GI Joe the movie?
Yes, big lob, baby. G.I. Joe the movie is fantastic.
Is this the one with Channing Tatum?
No, it's the animated movie.
No, okay, I don't know anything about it.
Oh my god. Come on, Sergeant Slaughter, dude. Come on.
My favorite fictional basketball player is Bugs Bunny.
That's smart. I'm gonna have
Thank
to
you.
go with. I'm gonna have to go with Tiny Toons. Oh man, who do I want to pick? I'm gonna go with Tasmanian Devil.
Nice. Yeah. Last question here from Edward Doherty. I recently read some of Fables after not thinking about the comic for a decade. Seems strange with a huge Vertigo title like that, with multiple spin-offs, seem to have no current influence considering the ongoing Sandman and Swamp Thing titles. Can you think of any other comic hits that seem to have just faded from memory today? And why do you think some titles resonate and others don't?
Well, what was tough about Fables is like Fables had a lot of talks for television deals, and then it seemed like they just kind of shelled the idea because Fables is based on a kind of public property. They were like, we'll just kind of take that and make our own. And there was like a couple like Fables like TV shows that came out at once that kind of like competed against each other and knocked each other out. But yeah, it's weird how that happens because Fables is an amazing property, and if somebody kind of really did it justice, it would be a hit fucking show.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Part of it is probably that Once Upon a Time, which ripped off Fables, was hugely popular and continues to be hugely popular. Isn't there... I mean, I really hesitate to say this out loud because I don't know all of the details, but wasn't there a thing with Bill Willingham, the creator of Fables?
Yeah.
Where, like, he was accused of several not-so-savory things. So that might be something that's tainted it versus Neil Gaiman, who still has a very good relationship with DC Comics, still works with them, still publishes things in the comic book industry. So that might be part of why it worked. But again, I might be misremembering things. There's been a lot
I
of
don't know if it
scandals.
was something. I know that there was something where Bill and the executives didn't see eye to eye, but I don't know if it was something that like he said something and got backlash. It was more like he kept fighting for his property and it became more expensive than them ripping off his idea or something like that. I don't know if it was like all that, but
All right.
yeah. Well, I
Yeah. I mean, to your point, though, there are a lot of things that have floundered is probably the wrong word, but just not gotten picked up in the same way. And I think part of it is like Sandman is not just one of the best-selling graphic novels of all time, it's one of the best-selling books of all time. So they're going to keep going back to that. Well, that's something that has inspired so many different writers, so of course they want to tackle it. Yeah, I mean, we've gotten a couple of mentions here of things like Unwritten, 100 Bullets,
Astro City.
Yeah, Astro City. And a lot of those also are like, those are very specific to the creators. So it might also be the creators being like, no, I told the story I want to tell. I don't want to go on with anything, you know, versus, oh gosh, I am forgetting who we talked to the other day. Oh, it was Kieran Gillen. Kieran Gillen was talking about Once and Future. And I think he was saying that that is the property that he thinks like could continue going forward if somebody really wanted to pick it up, right? Which I think is neat. Like, if you hit a place where you're like, yep, this is the thing that could go on forever, that's great. But if you feel proprietary about it, I'd rather lean towards that as well, you know?
Yeah.
All right. There you go. That's it for your audience questions. And now it is time to turn it over to Pete for our next section, which is a little section called The Trivia.
All right. This is the part where we give back to you, the lovely audience, where it's an opportunity to win $25 free in the form of gift card to Midtown Comics online. Oh, if you know, put hand up, or do you raise your hand emoji? Hey, we got one. We got a couple. All right.
Ooh, who do you want to choose, Pete?
It looks like we have Ben
It's your
Porter
choice.
Golly, and then John George.
Should we bring in John George? We haven't had him on a while.
Let's do that.
All right, there we go. It'd be nice to see his lovely little face. Here we go, bringing him into the stream. Pete, what are you going to give away this week, you think? A $25 gift card to Midtown Comics?
Oh, yeah. That's definitely what I would like to try to give away.
Nice.
Well,
Because
while we're waiting, I'll just read the quick rules here. I'm going to read you a question, listen to all three possible answers, and then get all three questions right, and $25 will be yours. It is on topical comic news. Thank you, Edward.
Great. Okay, so topical comic news. And you need to read the questions, or you read the answers?
No, I read the questions, and then they would select the right answer.
All right. Maybe John's having some trouble connecting. Should I just do it for him? We could bring Fred back into the stream.
Yeah, that went well. I think that went well.
He did, considering.
Yeah,
he did a great
send
job.
it again, John.
I feel bad, but he did a great job.
Yeah.
Oh, send it again. All right, here we go. You know what? This is going real smooth tonight.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, here we go. Inviting John George into the stream again. We'll see what happens. It says he's accepted and connecting. Beercat PhD is blaming Justin for this somehow. I could not agree more.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. He just jetted off to Los Angeles in the middle of a pandemic with wildfires.
Yeah, it seems sketchy.
Come on, man. It's ridiculous. Oh, man. How's it going, Pete?
Good. It's someone asked about my map. It's a map of Maui. A friend of mine lives in Maui, and I went to visit him, and I like maps. Yeah, I mean, should we go with the next one in line then, if we can't get John going here?
Sure, if you want.
All right.
So you're the star of trivia, Pete, so whatever you want to do.
All right, I guess it looks like first hand up guy was next on the list.
Okay. Here we go. Inviting him into the stream.
Sorry, John.
Happens. Yeah, sorry, John.
We tried
Here
twice.
we go. First hand up guy turns out to be second hand up guy, even though he was, in fact, first hand up guy, but we are throwing him into the stream. You didn't see it?
No, I didn't see him there.
Oh, man. That's too bad. Pete. Oh, here he is.
Oh,
hello. Hey, Nat. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. This is such a wonderful show.
Oh, thank you very much.
I just always enjoy watching it and listening to you guys talk about comic books.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And I also appreciate you saying that everything went completely smoothly and there were no problems.
Honestly, I can't name one.
Oh, great. You ready to play some trivia, Nat?
I would love to.
All right,
Okay, great. Take it away, Peter.
All right. Question number 1. What TV show is giving away a free digital comic right now? Is it A, Ted Lasso, B, Raised by Wolves, or is it C, Fran Dresser? So it's either A, Ted Lasso, or it's B, Raised by Wolves, which I hear is very good.
You know, maybe it's just that you've heard it's very good, but I gotta go with B, Raised by Wolves. It just sounds
That is
right.
correct. That's correct. All right, here we go. Question number 2. What company is going to be doing some horror-themed variant covers in October? Is it A, Image, B, Marvel, or C, Jennifer Lopez? You can't look behind you for help. I don't know what you're doing there, Nat.
I was just hoping there's a news ticker or something, Pete. I just need some kind of hint. I just can't figure it out.
Okay. All right. So it's either A or it's B.
I think it's B.
B is correct.
Yeah.
Marvel. We'll be doing some spooky themed variant covers.
Marvel.
Here we go. Question number 3.
I was looking at my Marvel comics over there.
Yeah, I'm sure. DC unveiled first looks of a new villain, the Frost King. For what upcoming event? Is it A, Endless Winter, B, King's Mission, or C, Diane Lane? So it's either going to be A, and $25 will be yours, or you could pick something else and not have $25.
To be clear, I can pick C if I want to.
If you want to be wrong, yes, you can.
I can't hear Pete's audio now, so I'm going to pick A. I'm going to go with A, please.
A is correct. $25 will be yours.
Oh, man. Again, I can't hear you guys, but I think I won.
Oh my God, you are stressing me out so much.
Sorry, sorry, Alex. That was a mean thing to do.
No, it's all right. Shoot us an email at comicbookclublive@gmail.com. You're going to get a $25 gift card to Midtown Comics to use online, so you don't have to brave the store or anything like that. Thank you, Nat. Stay safe out there. Enjoy your boiled mitts.
Oh, Mamma Mia.
It was a great way to cut out.
I will mention the Raised by Wolves comic, not to keep talking about the show. It's only 8 pages, but it's real good. It's written by the creator of the show, and it fleshes out some important information to understand about the show. So if you are watching it, definitely check it out. Speaking of checking things out, tomorrow is New Comic Book Day.
Wait, I want to point out, Kevin was right. It is Jack.
Right, Robin Williams movie.
Classic.
You have got to be running out of Robin Williams movies. How, buddy? Are you recycling them?
Nope.
Did we already do Jack
yet.
and I forgot about it?
Nope.
Oh, Jesus Christ. How close are you to running out, Pete?
Close, unfortunately. So. I'm getting closer every time. Oh, it's heartbreaking.
Oh, my God. As we all know, tomorrow is New Comic Book Day. We recommend you go to wherever you want to go to that is safe and careful for your bodies. Yep. Pete, what are you looking forward to?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. I am looking forward to Black Magic number 14, as well as Daredevil number 22.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Any particular reason?
Well, I'm hoping if I mention Daredevil number 22, you'll realize you didn't put that on our list.
You can ask me. You can ask me. You're allowed to talk to me.
Behind the scenes fun.
Oh, my God, Pete. Fun. I'm looking forward to 10 of Swords, creation number 1 from Marvel Comics.
After this, it's definitely 10 of Swords.
Yes, absolutely. We're definitely going to be kicking off our Stack podcast talking about this humongous 68-page issue.
Why would you?
Very excited to chat about it.
We should save that. Don't start that. That's such an exhausting way to start it.
We'll see. It's going to be very exhausting. But I very excited about this event. This is the first big event in the new status quo for the X-Men. You got the whole team working on it. Jerry Dugan, who was on the show last week, plugged it pretty hard. So very excited to see what happens going forward. And I love a good old school crossover. 22 parts, one story. Bring it on. This is like Phalanx Covenant all over again.
Seems a bit much.
I love it. It is. But XS is our name-o, as we always say. Folks, that is it for our show. Before we wrap up, a couple of people I want to thank. I want to thank Matthew Klein, Valiant VP of Sales and Marketing, for being here. Also, Fred Van Lente for the comic book story of basketball with a Herculean effort, reading his own questions without even being able to hear us.
Right, Hercules.
Thank you, Fred. You do not deserve that. You are amazing. Also, next week on the show, we're going to have 2 folks here. We're going to have Steve Urena from Slowpokes, which is a book all about sloths that kill people. Right. So you should really like that one, Pete. We're also going to have another couple of folks here that I forgot to write down the names of, but they're going to be awesome, so don't worry about it. Check out Let's Hear It for the Boys, our Boys Podcast, going up every Friday. Umbrella Podcademy, our Umbrella Academy podcast that goes up whenever. Patreon.com/Comic Book Club to support the show. iTunes, Android, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice. ComicBookLoveLive.com for this podcast. More at Comic Book Live on Twitter. And thank all of you folks. Stay safe out there. Don't forget to register to vote. Good night.
Sit on cramping couches and they let their secrets leak. And occasionally they'll let their special guest speak. So grab your inhaler. Don't be late for it, 'cause their girlfriends can barely tolerate it. Comic Book Club. Comic Book Club. Comic Book Club.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Peace out.